if you don't change the way you do business, if you don't innovate, you're out of business. Well, in Salem, I don't know that we've innovated in 25 years.
Gubernatorial candidate Alan Alley understands innovation and the need for intervention in state government.
In the last 4 years alone, our state budget has grown by over 37%. 37% more of your money, of our money, has gone into Salem. Are we getting 37% more? I don't think so.
Current leadership in Salem offers the same tired answers.
The only solution that we've seen from Salem is just raise higher and higher taxes on a shrinking economy. And that just isn't sustainable. We talk about sustainability around here. That is not sustainable. First thing we have to do is we have to get the economy growing, and then we have to grow government slower than the growth of the economy. That's innovative. It sounds pretty simple, but in terms of Salem, that is innovative.
In terms of the state budget, Alley says it's time to reevaluate priorities.
Our state budget is actually $55 billion for a biennium, $55 billion. About $40 billion of it is earmarked or sequestered or whatever you want to call it. And what happens is in Salem, they say, well, you can't touch that. That's set aside. That's been earmarked. That's funds that are targeted for these applications. So everybody fights over that $15 billion. When people talk about the Oregon budget, what they usually refer to is this $15 billion in what's called the general fund. About half of this is the K-12 budget. About half of the half, or 1/4 of it, is actually Health and Human Services. And then the rest of this little sliver here, is what all the negotiations are usually about. And here you have things like state police, higher education, community colleges. All of those take pieces out of this, and most of the discussion occurs about that. The part that nobody talks about is the other funds budget. What makes that $40 billion sacred? We have a problem in the schools right now. We have a problem in higher education. We have a problem in K-12. What if we taxed that $40 billion and moved some of that money over to help fund those schools?
$3 to $4 billion of that $40 billion goes into administrative services.
There's other pieces in here, like even pieces like the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. Let me give you an example. The Oregon Liquor Control Commission grew $15 million over the past 4 years. Now, I don't think anybody racked and stacked all the priorities for the state and said, you know what we need to do to create jobs in Oregon, to build a great environment, to build a great economy, and to really get our schools going, that we need to add $15 million to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. It didn't happen that way, and it shouldn't happen that way. It happened because a fee just happened to pour in the top and they spent it. We have to reprioritize those things, and we can't allow ourselves to be a victim of the process.
Alley says it's time we tax the government. It's time we tax that $40 billion budget. It's time we make the untouchable touchable.
Now, I know this might sound unusual, and it is. It's very out of the box. It's actually done on that side of the government. That's the way the Department of Administrative Services funds their operations. So why don't we just take 1% or 2% from all of those different services that we have in the $40 billion, gather that money up, call it a school emergency fund, and fund our schools with that. Really put it toward the highest priorities that we have. Because what this really does is it funds things even if they're not a priority. Even if we don't think it's a priority, they get funded because that's where the money is. I think the problem is this is what creates this growing and growing bureaucracy that's unaccountable for anything. Because the $40 billion is unaccountable to anybody. It drives me crazy and makes me angry when they say the only thing we can do is cut the number of days of school. That has to be, it is my highest priority. Education is my highest priority. Why would you cut your highest priority first? Why would you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. That there are other things that are lower priority. They're locked up in that 40 billion. Let's go in and pick that apart.
Alan Alley says state government needs to stop treating taxpayers like ATM machines and focus on giving them value for their dollar. It doesn't have to be this way. Imagine Oregon.